What's going on with dance and stuff? What's happening with dance and things? What's going on? What's happening? What's going on with dance and stuff? Hi, we're here live. We're here live and at Dance and Stuff, and this is our first endeavor of what will be many for Tuesday Night Live, where Reid and I show up, chat, probably chat with someone from the dance, theater, performance art, visual art, style, fashion, how to live, how to succeed, how to fail, which is imperative, how to breathe deep, how to let go, how to not let go, how to get revenge, and how to love. And
Jack, do you realize our fifth Tuesday Night Live?
Do I what?
Do you realize that this is our fifth Tuesday Night Live?
Well, what's incredible about it being our fifth Tuesday Night Live is this coming Friday will be our 150th episode of the Dance and Stuff podcast.
Wow.
We on this Friday will have done 150 episodes of Dance and Stuff as a podcast. And now we're in a new format, which is coming into people's homes like this, where we're being, which reminds me actually of, there's this incredible actress, Marian Seldes. If you don't know who she is, ladies and gentlemen, you have time now to find out who she is. The first play I ever did was with her. And I ran into her years later in a Port Authority. And I was like, Marian, and she turned around. She's like, oh, Jack, thank God it's you. She said, you know, sometimes people come up and they touch me on my back and I turn around and I don't know them, but they know me because I've been in their homes on TV. And this is an experience where now we are in people's homes live on TV. This live recording will continue to be available. For our Patreon members, we are coming up with something that will be available just for you, and more info on that soon. But for right now, we're coming to you live at on a Tuesday in April in 2020.
It's almost over April. We're hurtling into May.
May Day.
And there's deadlines. I mean, I have reading to do. I have projects to make. I got a bulletin board. I'll show you. I'm going to turn my camera so that you can see how.
Bulletin board.
You see?
I do. Reid, you know, you're the only person I know who loves a bulletin board. Like in Reid's studio, it's a well, whoever knows when we'll get back to that studio, but Reid's studio was a bulletin board that was just many different projects that had been completed, were going to be worked on, or were never ever going to happen because the designs were too haute couture.
Right, there's several different bulletin boards in my studio. One of them is inspiration. One of them is information on present projects, and one of them's calendar. You know, calendar.
Calendar. Talk about calendar now. Can we talk about what does a calendar mean now?
I live in total fear of forgetting literally everything because people will be like, let's talk on Thursday at 3:30. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And then I'm like, what even is a day? You know? And I know this is.
I know what a day is. A day is a 24-hour woman. That's what it is. Let me tell you what kind of days I have. It's 24 hours at a time as a woman.
As a woman. I did some writing this morning on a piece of paper. And I don't remember exactly what it was about, but I feel it did have something to do with today. But weirdly, it says April. Oh, I was going to tell you a story about summertime.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about, you know, I used to go to Idaho every summer.
I do. I know that you can go to Idaho, yes.
And Idaho for me was lakes. You know, there's a huge lake. A lake was the focal point. It was the center of our social universe, was going to the lake. Can we go to the beach? Can we go to the beach? Can we go to the beach? And
Idaho, where you lost your brother Jack's turtle?
yes, Mr. Turts. Oh boy.
Wow. Or set her free.
I set Mr. Turts free.
Yeah. Yeah. We could say you lost her. We could also say you set her free. To be lost is to maybe be free.
And
And
God willing, didn't get run over by a train or a bicycle.
she's fine.
Oh,
She's coming up from the bottom of a lake right now to be like, it's spring. She's going to get on a log and have a great old time. Anyhow, so Idaho Lakes.
do you think my brother would still have Mr. Turts had I not lost him?
Uh-uh.
Okay. I don't
So
know how
the right thing.
kind of turtles live to be, but that would be an old turtle.
Also,
Um,
another, if you don't know what's so incredible, is Reid's brother's name is Jack.
correct.
Can you imagine?
Um,
Reid is just bookended by two Jacks, and we couldn't be more divergent.
uh-huh, but you're both bullies.
I am not a bully. I'm not a bully. Look, I am generally on the defense, and if I have to be on the offense, then that's when it has to happen.
There you have it.
That's what it is when you are someone who has an opinion.
I see. Well, I had my adenoids out when I was 8.
Right, right. And your mother was like, don't touch her chords because she is a singer.
And that summer, I got to Idaho, and my doctors had made me custom earplugs for bathing, right?
Just, I
I
love it.
couldn't put water in my ears because they would disrupt the healing. I don't know. So I my there was no way you would keep me out of the lake, right?
Okay.
So the system was that I would put my plastic molded, um, hot molded earplugs into my ears, and then I'd put silly putty over that to create more of a seal, and then I'd put one
Bathing
of
cap.
those plastic swim caps, really sticky kind, and I had literally
The kind that they wear in Namuna.
exactly. I had no shame whatsoever. I was on the beach, full swim cap, silly putty in the lake.
I'm just
That's what it
that. I
eight.
want to come back. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, no, I was just saying that's what it means to be 8 years old. You don't have shame about stuff like that.
And I want to say that the idea of shame is something you, yes, of course, you have, I have, we all have shame. It's what we're always trying to get over. But no, you're still shameless, and in a way that I think is absolutely incredible. And I have absolutely gone to a beach with you where you have had no shame about not wanting the sun to touch you, where you have worn a full linen shirt, pants, and a giant white umbrella.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's full shame, right? Wanting to be completely hidden. Full
I
shame.
think that's also just taking care of yourself from the sun's violent rays. I mean, when it comes to, my kind of UV intake, I only take in the sun as reflected by the moon. So all of my friends know I only do moon bathing, and it's what's kept me witchy.
It truly
One of the many things that has kept me full witch. Yeah.
um I feel that because we're being joined by I feel I'm a white witch and you're a black witch, and today we're being joined by a certain other kind of witch.
I feel we're being joined. If I, there's, I feel that there's many different kinds of witches, and I would say that we are being joined by someone I would consider to be like the good witch of the dance, someone who has really looked through the canon with a tremendous amount of respect, inquiry, and indictment, and has found ways of using iconic language from many different forms of concert dance to create her own completely new, unique, visionary choreographic landscape to help bring modalities of dance that could viewed as very difficult in a contemporary setting into a way that makes them utterly contemporary and I would even say timeless.
I think moving forward, especially into my career in teaching, whatever, I'm pushing back against uh, introductions quite so thorough. And I don't think that our guest would say that she makes dance to indict. I think that we'll let her weigh in on that. But why don't we watch a little bit of her work? Is it time, Jeremy? And then she'll come in and she'll talk about whether or not she's making work to indict forms or people.
I didn't say people, I said indict, and I was definitely talking more about the form, and I'm going to specifically narrow in on that when it comes to ballet.
Oh,
My absolute, for me, the piece that this choreographer made that shook me, that I think about with great frequency, is Bartok Ballet that was done at New York City Ballet. We will get to it for sure, and we already have talked about it on the podcast before about the multi-pronged event that is. But right now, yes, let's take a look at some work by our upcoming guest, Pam Tanowitz. Here we go.
Oh, we're back. Did you enjoy the dance, everybody? That was Maggie Cloud and myself dancing a duet by our guest at a Guggenheim Works in Process show that was made by Harriet Jung, my design partner, and myself. And we chose 5 of our favorite esteemed choreographer colleagues to participate and make work for us. And Pam Tanowitz, our guest, made that entry, and she's here. And she's here with us.
Pam,
Can you see me now? Am I being seen now?
You're here.
Always seen.
Okay,
Pam,
I put lipstick on. I put lipstick on for the first time in like 7 weeks because I don't want to scare your viewers.
Incredible. You look incredible. And what brand are those glasses?
Oh, they're Chloe.
Okay, I'm due for some new glasses, so maybe I'll also look at Chloe because those are great. They're really great. That duet is so beautiful, and I loved while our viewers were watching it, we were going over even just the time of making it, and something that I will say, years ago, I remember being stuck in a process, and I just was stuck, and Reid screamed at me, "Less thinking, more doing," and it helped. And Pam, I feel that you are someone who, the way the steps are able to come through for you, has always been exciting to me to watch, both in coming and being able to see some of your process, not like Reid has some of it, but also then what the product ends up being, because you're also an incredible editor of putting it together. So before I continue to go on and on with compliments, thank you so much for joining us on our first Dance and Stuff Tuesday.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Where are you right now?
I'm in New York. You know, it's very, there's a lot to say about what's happening, besides the obvious, but it's pretty, tragic. New York is, when you walk around, it's heartbreaking. The whole world is, but when, I go out to get groceries or whatever, and you're looking around, everyone's in masks, everything's closed. When you're inside, you can be in your own bubble, but when you go out to do those things, it really hits home. So it's
right.
hard. It's very hard. And then
wasn't laughing at your COVID story, but your sound went really crazy and you sounded like you were coming from an alien spaceship. So that's
just now?
During your sad story about COVID.
Oh.
But it's fine. We got the work. We definitely got it.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's, like everyone, we're struggling. Like you wake up. Look, I'm healthy. I can buy food. I'm fine. And in this time, this is fine. We're fine. And then you try to figure out how to do the things we're supposed to do, or you can do nothing, I think, too. And I think it's fine. You were talking, Jack, just about doing, when he said to you, it's in the doing. And I actually been thinking about that a lot, because that is the heart of that's what I do, is the doing. Right. And I can't do that doing. I can't do the doing that I've been doing for 25 years. And so now I'm trying to figure out, can I do something else that's related to that? I don't know if I can.
Go ahead, Reid.
I was just going to say, Pam and I talked earlier this week, and she kept saying, like, I can't do what I do. And yet at the same time, you were describing things that you're going to do right now, that you're in the process of doing. So you're going to do things. It's just going to have to take on a different form.
Yeah. And I think I trick myself. So, into, I want to still be engaged with, my dancers. So we are rehearsing on FaceTime. I'm working with each dancer privately. I give them assignments. And then we work together in real time, and I manipulate it, but it's very different. There's like a whole, there already is a buffer when you're trying to transfer information even in real life. And now you have this other buffer. And and I have to use my words, and I have to figure out how to communicate differently. So it's hard. But I think, because I want to still be engaged with my dancers, I want to still be able to pay them and I want to be able to, but more than that, be engaged too, I think is emotionally, and stay connected. So I think I sort of tricked myself into saying, okay, I'm going to do this for them, but I'm actually also, I'm doing it for me too. It's for both of us, for all of us.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, so I understand that you're working with some of your dancers now in terms of building, giving prompts. What does that look like for you? Do you set up the camera so that you can demonstrate things and then speak to them? I'm sure it's different for everyone, but do you mind speaking some of what your artistic process is like? We'll work our way backwards, but I am really
Yeah. I mean, I think that, yeah, sorry. I think that how I started, I had this idea because I've also been thinking about my archives and retrospectives and repertory and this sort of ongoing dialogue of how do I keep all the stuff. So that's always been it's been in my mind for a while. So I made a list of the dancers and all the dances they've been in of mine. So obviously Melissa Toogood's list is much longer than someone else's, and so I had an initial phone conversation with each dancer, and I chose with them what phrases they were interested in revisiting. So we started with which I do a lot, which is I take material from another piece and bring it forward, things that I feel like I haven't explored enough or reframe. So we made a list of maybe 3 to 5 phrases depending on the dancer, and they had to relearn them if it was an old piece. So that took time. Then we manipulate in different ways. And I would actually decide with the dancer, are we going to splice this? Let's reverse this. Let's this. So it's like we're collaborating on it. So we did that. And each assignment is different. The next prompt was I wrote a phrase. I wrote down a phrase. Things that were very specific, like step right, turn clockwise, cabriole, to something really open, like take any step from anything and go in 2 directions at once and follow the floor. So it's like goes from being very specific to very open. And like someone like, if I give it to Miley Okamura, my company, I said go ask Mimi, her 4-year-old daughter, for a step. So I try to like cater it to each person, try to make it fun. That was one of the, I mean, I don't need to go into so much.
No, Pam, please go into it. It's so fascinating because I think what we're pressed up against as people who are makers of time-based art, that where so much of the material is live, and yes, we can show dances on video. I mean, I opened up all my work, which I had closed. I put it all up on my website so people can.
Wow, that's great.
They can have access to that if that's pleasurable for them to view. But the making part, or the thing around dance, and also in the iconography of movement, is about this relationship that's happening live in the moment. And so I am absolutely, as I'm sure other people tuning in are really curious to hear from someone about what their making process is like, because it does feel, and we work with people. I love working with people. Like, right. I love making a piece with people. We fall in love with our dancers and want to make the best work we can for them and for the piece, ultimately. Like, it's all in service for the piece. So now that we're not together, and then we're not with our final collaborator, who is the audience in the moment, I am really curious to hear about what that's been like for you. So I think prompts.
And then I started looking through a lot of my old dance books, like real books, like not on the internet. Like I'm really into this one right now. The photos are amazing. And there's one guy, he looks like Jack. That guy. Doesn't he look like Jack?
We have to get closer. Wait, I'm double clicking.
Doesn't he look like Jack?
I'm honored that you think he looks like me. He's handsome. Thank you.
Hugh Lang. Liang. Yeah. Lai.
Man or something?
It's from Anthony Tudor's Undertow, which I've never even heard. I don't know that piece at all, which, I like to
say they should revive all Anthony Tudor dances because he's such a genius.
Genius. My favorite dance is Lilac Garden.
Lilac Garden, a few years ago when they revived it at ABT, I watched it and I cannot believe how much was accomplished emotionally, psychologically, and plot-wise in like 20 minutes of dance. It was unbelievable.
I told someone it was my favorite dance. I forget who it was, and they looked shocked because it doesn't.
Well, I think people expect you to say like, "Oh, I love, Merce Cunningham's this and that," but
I do. But I also love this. I mean, Lilac Garden is, I don't know how he did it, but also Dark Elegy is also great. Right. I think that this guy looks like Jack Ferver. Totally.
I am very, very, very honored that.
Also, Reid, look at that costume on the woman.
It's really
cool?
Look at Pam. Who's the woman?
Nana Gallner, Gollner.
Gallner. No idea.
That costume looks amazing. And then the other thing, this is genius. This is Mary Vigman. Look at this costume, Reid.
I mean.
Wait, I'm double clicking on you. Oh, chevrons galore.
We love that costume.
I want to do a costume for you out
Can
of
we
like.
Copy this?
Yeah, of course. We won't copy it. We'll make it out of rickrack. Huge, giant rickrack.
I love rickrack.
We had a teacher at FIT. Her name was Jay Edelstein, and she was enormous. She was extremely tall and very impatient.
Edelstein, I love her already.
Edelstein.
Yeah.
And she was actually quite good teacher, though sort of disturbing. But she would do her lectures on draping, and during them she'd be like, "Save your questions until the end, please." And we'd be like, "Okay." And if anyone said, "How did you?" She'd be like, "Wait, no." Wow. And then her critiques for almost everybody, she'd be like, "Well, it's very simple. You might want to jazz it up with some trim, maybe rickrack."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So maybe
let's make a rickrack dress.
I do have to say, I love the idea of a chevron dress that is done in metallics.
There you go. Well, metallics are always sometimes. Some things are in and they're out. One day you're in and then you're out, and then, metallics.
But metallics are always in, and a metallic.
Just like, isn't leopard always in too? Like leopard.
You have to be a certain kind of person from, a certain universe family to really pull off leopard. But sure, Tiger King, you know what I mean?
So Pam, you're giving these prompts, you're working with your dancers, and you're also going back through your own dance history research and seeing what resurfaces for you now. What is, and for your experience as a maker, and I think there is a part of the making process, of course, that happens pre-post studio, where we're alone, we're seeing the choreography happening behind our eyes. Like maybe for me, it happens like before I fall asleep, I'll have images for a phrase and then I'll write them down, and then I'm thinking, what do I want to do when I get do, etc. Then I get to have that experience. Then there's the post. Most of your time now, though, is spent alone, and you are having this time where you're getting to interface with your dancers. What has been coming up for you artistically in the lone time?
Well, research is actually like one of my favorite. I love being studio.
Sorry, I'm losing you a little bit.
But I also
I want you to repeat your answer. You said you love research.
I love the research and process are my favorite parts of everything. And and I've said this before, but like the show is my least favorite. It's so I mean, it really is. The show, once the show happens, it's not mine. It's for the dancers. That's how I feel. And I'm usually like just freaking out somewhere. And anyway, that's a whole other thing. But so the research is it's hard to describe. Like I'll either like draw like in my book. The hardest part of this FaceTime rehearsals is I can't really work on composition.
Right.
Right. And that's like one of my things that I actually start with. So that's been frustrating. Um, but I also can imagine how things can be. So I usually write in my journal, like I'll write out stuff. I'll be reading, I'll go on searches and then it'll lead me somewhere else. I'm reading art books. I try to just get from all aspects. Reading, writing, watching. I mean, I usually go to museums and stuff, which I can't do. So I think the hard part is that each dancer right now is separated. They're all separated and they all have I have a list of between 3 and 6 phrases for each person. So now the challenge is, what am I doing with these? And I don't know the answer to that yet.
Right. There's also this question of when are we even going to come back, and when we are able to be together again, when is touch going to be happening? And these things, when we think about opening the economy or coming back together all in masks and remaining 6 feet apart from each other.
Dancers can't do that, really.
We can't. Well, you could, and you could consider the parameters, and then you're going to make pieces for those parameters. But it is this thing of, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and my work isn't very touchy. People don't touch a lot in my work, so, but they still are around. People are sweating.
Well,
you have to be close.
There's relationships spatially, and I think for you that's really important, and it doesn't happen you don't draw it out like arrows and like a map like that. I feel like you see it as it's happening because you see the bodies in space, and then you see accidents happen, and then it develops in real life. So because you're like Balanchine, it's like Serenade, Pam, you're Balanchine.
And they fall on the floor. Yeah.
and that is a huge part of that. I think that is such a huge part of the rehearsal process, right? It's the thing of the divine mistakes. It's when those things happen where then it's like, oh, let's keep that in.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that ever happened was a piece I made called The Spectators, with Melissa and Dylan have this big duet, and it happened in rehearsal. They were close. I forget how exactly, but they were doing something and Melissa's hair got in the way, and Dylan took her hair and put it back for her. And that's right. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like gold. And there's a moment where they do this slow walk, but so it's not enough, it's enough to know, you have to notice it, but then you have to figure out how to put it in, show it, because
would Melissa have a loose piece of hair every night in the show on purpose?
I forget how she did it. We should call her and ask her. I think she took one out as she was Melissa is a genius. She figured it out. I don't know.
You don't know how seriously she's taking it until the show, and then she comes out in her makeup and everything's always perfect, and you're like, oh, you really mean it.
Yeah, she's amazing. So I think and so anyway, they do a long walk from upstage to downstage, and then, or maybe Dylan pulls it out and puts it back or something. It was very very tender, and I loved it, So anyway, I made it into a whole thing, but that was a mistake.
I have to say, even in this Zoom live stream that just happened, Rita talked about an earlier audio thing that happened when you just said upstage to downstage. It was so loud on my side that's why I put my arms up, because it was all.
It was metal music.
Yes.
Am I too loud?
No, it's all tech. It's all audio tech. This is also our first one, ladies and gentlemen. We are a very what's the word? Scrappy. We're not funded. That'll be present with our Patreons about, but we're doing this for everyone to keep an engagement with a form that we love, which is dance.
I want to say that we're pioneers, but we're not, because I've literally watched entire orchestras play together via Zoom. So
Even
That's so
Sondheim's
nice.
90th birthday party was exceptional. And in this very moment, are we not Christine Baranski, Meryl Streep, and Audra McDonald?
well,
Definitely
I
not.
I mean,
did
we're
you
not yet, and yet, you know, if I have to think of a trio.
Have
And
you guys seen Mrs. America?
not
I
yet. I want to watch that.
Good.
I cannot.
No?
Why?
You don't like it?
No, I cannot. I haven't seen it yet, and I can't wait
Oh,
to see
Kate
it.
Blanchett. I
We're
mean, the
getting,
cast is
we're
amazing.
getting questions.
Oh, we are?
We're getting questions, and so I'm going to bring them up. Well, it came from Jeremy, which was our favorite Pam Tanowitz dance. Gideon wrote 4 quartets.
Aw.
And
Yeah.
and I people know what my fave of yours is, and Pam, I mean, I love all of your dances, Pam. Is the way that Bartok Ballet hit me, and we already have a whole podcast about this.
Yeah, we don't have to go into it.
I went on and on and on. I dragged Reid into a Citibank to sit out. So all that was because I didn't want to go into what's that place across the street we generally go and eat?
The Smith?
I couldn't handle it. The Smith is too.
It's so loud in there.
Well, because
You know what? We would give anything to be able to go to the Smith.
It's like a gigantic bathroom.
I know.
it's bathroom tile, so you go in and it's a cacophony. And
Yeah.
I was like, I have to talk about this piece that just shook me so hard. And I do really wish that the public could have access to these at this time.
Yeah.
I understand that it's hard for things to translate vis-a-vis film. What happened in Bartok Ballet in terms of the organization compositionally, yes, Pam, absolutely masterful, but the leading of women and the way in which it made one scan back through Balanchine, through things that have been said about women, about beauty, about ballet is the woman, but then like how does that translate? And that it felt to me like you took that sentence and you're like, and I'm actually going to make that true. And I was so moved by it through every feeling that I could have of like hope for reform, a sense of vindication, as well as a sense of great reverence to a master, meaning Balanchine, and with extreme inventiveness in the movement. To also, I love the way that you go into certain dream, allowing for the dream to happen, which I think is important for me in art, for there to be these places that, yes, we access in our dreams, but that can happen in real life through art. When the one dancer came off of stage and stood by the gold column, Reid and Harriet's contribution to it with the costumes of even referencing state theater, and its sense of hauntingness and decay was also present. It's just really, I'll never get over it. It's one of those pieces that is in my top 5 of all dance experiences I've had in my life.
Thank you.
Well, I think, Pam, in the way that you make the work, it leaves a lot of openness for people to have feelings and interpretations like that, to really like deeply investigate and feel something. But I think that it's because of the purity of your process. You're not making the thing to provoke in that way, but it can, because it's so clear and so much can be gleaned from it in many different ways. And you reference so much, but you're not purposely trying to do all these kinds of things that people are finding in the work.
Right. Just allowing the space for them to
Right.
enter. And I just sort of, to circle back to when I was not on, you guys were talking about if I indict or not. And I think that's interesting because I do think about it. And I think for me, I want it both ways. I want to be pushing and have a dance be an experiment, but at the same time, that's not the only thing it is. It's also the dance. It's the
Absolutely.
dance and it's also the comment on the dance. So it's so I because I don't want to alienate. I want to bring people in. There's other artists that alienate and that's that what they do and people do that really well and but that's not the artist that I am.
Well, and
And
that functions off of kind of this dyad that I think is important, which is yes, there are some artists who only indict. However, there's some artists who only inhabit.
right.
And I think for me anyway, the seam or the aim is to inhabit while indicting so that it isn't to say I'm indicting you from a position that I'm not in, that I am with you in this position. You are there at like the top, you're in like the top of the field at New York City Ballet. It's not like you're gonna say, oh, how dare you. It wasn't about that at all. It was so much of being like, I'm standing here as a woman with these women and with these dancers here on this stage. I'm inhabiting with questions, indictments, and all of that. It's not about finger
And
pointing
love.
kind of
And
indictment
love.
about and love.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to love something, then you also have to question it.
Right.
Because to not question it is just to go into some sort of naive, what I would say is just inhabiting or hoping to capitalize on an already tread form.
Right.
Right. Like oh, go
We
ahead,
have,
Reid.
we have a question from a viewer.
Okay.
His name is Garth Gimble, and he says, Pam, I saw an interview where you said your work was never compared to other female makers. Do you know or like Melissa Fenley's work? Y'all make work that highlights the craft of making.
Well, it's interesting that well, I'm not sure about the first thing he said. I don't know if that's true. But
Well, I think you said so. You know that little documentary about Goldberg?
mhm.
There's a part in it where I believe you talk about being compared to female, or there was something about it. I'd have to go back, but I think maybe that's where it comes from.
Okay. Well, regardless, it's interesting that he brought up Melissa Fenley because Melissa Fenley was the one of the first choreographers that fucking like blew my mind. I was a junior in college at Ohio State. My mom sent me to American Dance Festival. She just like signed me up. I had a really amazing mother who like tried to find all these experiences. I didn't really even know what it was. I went to ADF. I mean, it rocked my whole world in so many ways. And I went to you dance and you go to shows every single night. So I guess I was a junior. So how old are you? Like 20 or something? 21? I'm not sure. Anyway, so I go to see Melissa Fenley and she comes out and she's doing her Rite of Spring, topless in her black tights, a
Yes.
solo, and it blew my mind. I went back to my composition class and I went up to my teacher, Vicki Blaine, who was the head of the department, and I said, I just came back from ADF and Melissa Fenley did this solo and she did every single thing you told us not to do. And she looked at me and smiled. I will never forget that. So it's interesting that he brought up Melissa Fenley. I think she does do so I guess I was affected by her. I think she was definitely made really interesting work. I didn't get to see a lot of it, but that was something I would never forget. It was that piece and D Man in the Water, Bill T, those two pieces that year, like changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are there any names of female makers that have been important for you?
Oh yeah, that's why I was unsure about why that where they got that info, or maybe I don't know what that's from. But anyway, yeah, there's tons of female choreographers I love: Trisha Brown, Twyla Tharp, Lucinda Childs, Yvonne Rainer, Sarah Mitchelson. Who else? I
I'm
mean, there's
so
lots.
Trisha Brown. Oh my God.
Hmm?
She was so good. Trisha, she
Yeah.
really nailed it.
So good, so smart.
He looked so good. Oh, she was so good.
I was just talking about with Neil Beasley. I was just talking about 4MG and how much that changed my life.
Oh, I love that
My
piece.
top five.
Oh yeah.
4MG was a real. That really shook me in a way. That was so much alright. I mean, it, and again, and as listeners of the podcast know, for me personally, theater, the interfacing of theater, dance, and performance art are very much something that I love, or that I like in my own taste spectrum. And that piece has its use of theater. It was incredible.
I'm
The you know
trying to remember what theater was it in? Because I saw that piece because I remember the title so
the
well.
last time, I think its last New York showing was at what was then Dance Theater Workshop, when they did Foray Foray,
Right.
Set and Reset, and 4MG. I guess
Oh, yes.
this
Also, when
year.
I was at Ohio State, Trisha Brown came, the Wexner Center had just been built. That's how old I am. So I actually, Wexner Center was not there when I started, and it was built by the time I left. And they did a whole series of Trisha Brown early works in their small like black box, and they did what's the one where she's walking in
In the
clothes?
holes.
In the clothes. If there's a
In
clothes.
the on the wall with the holes.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know what it's called, but it looks great. They all do.
I don't. 4MG is the one with the grand piano. It's these running sets, and two dancers stand with their backs to the audience for through a lot of the work. And then at a certain point, a girl appears. She'd be the part I'd want to play, because she kind of appears out of nowhere. And then another female appears, and it ends with these two girls. And that part of that dance is called, in terms of like, because Trisha had these names for different sections of the dances, that part's called Bad Girls.
Bad Girl.
Oh, well, that's your part.
I mean, I also feel, if we're going to keep talking about, iconic dances, I feel that Moves is by Rob.
That's beyond.
Beyond. I mean, it's really, and I feel we've all been informed by that. I can't think of a choreographer who I love who hasn't been informed by that piece.
I mean, what year did he make that piece? I can look it up in my book.
50s. He made it in like 1950 something.
So imagine in the 50s when they're doing a piece in silence in the 50s.
Can you imagine? And people are still like, oh, why is it in silence? Now.
Right. That takes like chutzpah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
he's uptown. He didn't care. He's
the whole section where there's a boy partnering a girl, and then a boy stands between the girl and the partner, looking into the boy's eyes while he partners the woman behind. I mean, the way it dealt with sexuality, the way it dealt with the other, the way it dealt with the shadow self, the way it dealt with rage, the way it dealt with dancers hating the choreographer and hating the audience and still being beautiful. I mean, work.
Totally work.
Reid.
Totally work.
Since I answered, what would you say?
Oh, what was the question?
What's your favorite Tanowitz?
Oh, I love Goldberg Variations, and I particularly loved it at the Joyce this time around. I found it very moving, and I mean, I think that's also to do with being closer and closer to this group of dancers. The more I see four quartets, the more I love it. It wasn't a piece I initially loved, but now that I've seen it many times, it's sort of grown into me more the more I know it. There's so many layers inside of the dance that it's hard to see one time and take it in.
It is choreographically mammoth. I mean, it just, the density and the intricacies of the material. I mean, Pam, you've been lauded and lauded and lauded. So I'll be one of the many who is like, it is incredible in terms of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, the first Pam dance I really loved, I think, was the thing at the Guggenheim with the David Lang and the Caroline Shaw.
Yeah, the quartet. Mm-hmm.
Somehow that felt, there was like an emotiveness to that I really loved. And then I'm really, really excited for the material that you were building for the Jasper Johns thing that I saw in the studio. I couldn't believe it's really a departure I think
It's
people will
different,
be,
right? Yeah.
the music is so special. It's really, really great. And I think the dancers are really excited physically about it because
Yeah.
there's like, it's a little bit, there's more, it's a little flashier.
It's a little like sexy.
It's sexy. It has that move. I'm gonna do the move for the people.
Okay,
Oh
do
wow,
it.
Reid's gonna do the move. I can't
Do
wait.
it.
They go, wait,
No,
they
but
go
your
head.
arm, no, your arm has to be straight.
Oh, okay. And then what happens with the hips?
You have to do it. You have to swing the hips.
Oh yeah, I never did that.
Wait, what if I wasn't
Ladies
wearing?
and gentlemen, other, you are getting something no one has gotten, which is a live rehearsal process with Pam Tanowitz. I mean,
But also, I almost was not gonna wear pants because I was like, oh, it's just Zoom.
I think it's
Oh, that's good, Reid. Open up your legs more. Wider, yeah. And then a little wider.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, but it's the coordination is a little more stiff. It's like a little stiff. You don't swing your arm so much. More
Okay.
stiff. That's it. That's better. That's better.
Okay. Anyways, I love that move, and it's going to be a great dance.
If I ever get to do it.
I'm obsessed that you two just did that. I also agree. Gideon wrote in that, because I didn't get to see the Royal Ballet piece. That's another piece I wish could become available online for us to get to see.
Oh, maybe there is a way. I can ask. Maybe I ask them or something.
That would be, I mean, that would be incredible.
Nobody's really saw it.
One of our
Yeah,
viewers,
you can live stream it.
one
Like
of our,
it's not-
They might be busy. The Royal Ballet might be busy. I can ask them. I don't know.
one of our viewers did ask about moves being, about NYCB opening up moves being able to be viewed, and I really wish that could happen. It's the piece that when you look downtown and you look uptown and you think, what's going on now, and what's this neoclassicism and this thing of when people talk about like the choreographers who we know, I'm not going to name names, who talked about like perverting Merce or perverting Balanchine, like when that word gets used of like perverting, manipulating, twisting in some way, and then you're like, in 1959 this dance was made called moves. And it's like, and we live in it, so it's, I wish that more people could see it. I feel the kind of, it is this thing that's always the struggle of, or I was speaking with someone recently and wanted to ask questions, a younger upcoming maker, and the ways in which I think now is such a great time to actually get material to people who haven't seen it, who might be treading on material that already has been made, or that they're already in a legacy they might not know about.
And there's a lot of dancers that don't know, haven't seen a lot of pieces.
Yeah. Well, Evan Leslie from the library was just commenting that we're always talking about moves with you, Pam. So maybe for our first live staged dance and stuff at the Performing Arts Library, you'll be our guest and we'll watch moves like Mystery Science Theater.
Well, yeah. Well, there's also, I have to tell you, every person I know that's ever been in moves, I asked them to teach me steps from it. So like Victor was in it at Juilliard. So there's actually a step that he does, like this one. Like you can't see me, but and then
look who's here.
Oh my God, Aunt Jane.
Aunt Jane, you're on our live. You're on YouTube, Aunt Jane.
Oh my God, amazing.
It's
Aunt
on
Jane.
YouTube.
And then when I made a piece at Vail, I think with Joe Gordon and Gretchen, I would ask them for a step for moves, and then I could I'm so interested in that dance. I just want to know everything about it.
It's one of the City Ballet releases. Tonight is Apollo with Taylor Stanley that you can all watch after you're done with dance and stuff live.
Yeah, and you can watch it for days.
Amazing. Is it dinner? Days. Is it dinner time in California?
Was that what Aunt Jane was coming in to say, that it was time for dinner?
Well, she came in to watch what I do in this house.
Well, I couldn't for some reason get onto Instagram to watch you guys, and I wanted to watch.
We're doing it on YouTube, Aunt Jane. We're on YouTube. You will be on YouTube now forever.
Huh, that's all I need.
Really, I mean, it's just.
Wait, I'm going to show you my dog and my daughter really quick.
I know your daughter.
There's
And
Jacques.
Hi.
And there's Gemma.
Totally doing a job.
Hi.
There you go.
It's so good. It's so good.
I'm in Gemma's room right now. I'm in a 19-year-old's room.
So cool, Pam.
We're like,
When we realized she had to come home, we like redid, like, so it sort of looks like a dorm room right now. Like she made it look a little like a dorm room.
I mean, I really believe, like, the thing. Wait, how old is Gemma?
19.
I also love the thing of I'm in a 19-year-old's room right now with a poster that behind you says "For Like Ever."
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Piece.
It's also and then the Rocky Horror Show For Like Ever. Yeah, it's a good room.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, there's Gemma.
Gemma's back.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hi, Gemma.
Hi.
If you want to talk about Drag Race, she's your lady.
Oh, Gemma, like, what did you think about Jeff Goldblum crying?
That was so funny.
He got a lot of shit for that.
I don't know.
Episode apparently.
My dad was telling me that people, he's getting a lot of shit for it. I thought he was crying during the lip sync. I was laughing.
Oh, I thought the crying during the lip sync I was really like,
it was crazy.
Well, but what is the issue with it?
That's a whole other
episode.
You don't watch the show, so it's fine, Reid. You're not interested, Reid. But Reid and I did.
We don't have to talk about it. But who's your favorite? Who? Gigi.
Okay, so it was Gigi, but now it's also Heidi.
Yeah.
So,
I like Gigi.
I love Jan. Jan is really my favorite, but she left already.
She's gone. For me, it's kind of always been, for me, Gigi, and then the way Heidi's growing and her humor and her ability to be present is really. I also love Jada. I love Jada.
Yeah, I love Jada.
Yeah.
Like in the political debate, Jada was really my fave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're really into Trixie Mattel right now.
Trixie's incredible. I mean, who doesn't want to watch Trixie do something?
Yeah, we're just really into Trixie. Gemma got me really like.
Reid is fully gone. You can see that he's completely.
Okay, let's not talk. Okay.
Because I like Trixie Mattel and I watch Trixie on YouTube do stuff.
But you don't watch the Drag Race?
No.
Neither do
I find it depressing.
But listen, I like Trixie Mattel. She does these she shows her Barbies on YouTube. By decade. So she did the 60s, the 70s Barbie, and now we're waiting with bated breath for 80s.
I also think that we have
choreography.
I think we also have answered all of these questions, which is, and the main one, we've had 2 of them now, and so hopefully that comes through somehow to NYCB. People would love to see moves online, and I do think it is imperative for the dance world to see and especially if we're going to keep talking about like Ballantine and Cunningham. There was a queen named Jerome Robbins who really did it in 1959. Yeah. So in Pam, how many we're coming up at time of, because this thing is just an hour. We're going to go a little bit over just because I wanted to ask how many commissions stopped because of this.
That's a good
1, 2, 3, about 4.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Pam, I want
4 on and then shows that include dancers.
Right.
We were supposed to go to London next week for the Goldberg, and a couple other shows for the dancers. So I would say like 2 or 3. I can't remember right now. I mean, all I remember doing is all I do is delete stuff from my Google Calendar.
That is
very sad. But yeah, 4 canceled or postponed, and then 1 big show. Barbican is a major show, and some other stuff, some residencies and some other things canceled as well. So
Yeah, but I have to say I'm not surprised, and I love you, Pam, for keeping your dancers employed and finding a way to continue to get whatever resources you have to them and working through this time and persisting and showing up to a field that's already so uh that's already so difficult. I guess Reid's done. So
you done, Reid?
yeah, Reid looks done. So we will finish up. And ladies and other, thank you so much for tuning in. And Pam, thank you so much for being.
People watched.
What?
That's what I can watch.
Everybody watched?
I missed it. I want to see the whole thing.
Oh yeah, people are watching now, and this will be up for a while, and then we can this will be up.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. I hope I was okay first
Questions
guest
for people. Thank God we have her.
Pam, you're such a fantastic guest. You're definitely going to have to come back on because people want to see you rehearsing with Reid live, which I think is really good.
Pam, that was, and Pam, I'll see you next Friday at Zoom, and we'll talk on.
Amazing. Love you guys.
Love you so much.